welcome to the Sound Off Show. My name is Linda Kirker. I host the program, and I'm so glad that you decided to tune in and join us tonight. I want to start out with just a quote, which I think is quite important. Very simple, but very important. Life isn't about finding yourself. Life is about creating yourself. And that is a job we all have. It's a responsibility we all have. And we have a choice as to what we're going to create ourselves to be. That was a quote, by the way, by George Bernard Shaw. I like things like that. They're little reminders about who's responsible for what. And one quick thing here. It's titled Child Abuse in the Classroom. And basically, I'll get into it more later, but basically a lot of it has to do with the use of computers and how it's affecting the brains. There's a doctor who's doing a study on that, and it's basically unhealthy to have children in front of a screen so many hours a day. They become addicted, and there are other negative aspects to that, but I'll get into that a little bit later. I just wanted to read this little thing. American students are lagging behind in educational achievements according to the Program for International Student Assessment, which measures reading ability, math and science literacy among 15-year-olds in dozens of countries. The 2015 PISA, it's called, results placed the United States at an unimpressive 38th out of 71 countries in math and 24th in science. We must educate the next generation. Okay, with that, I will once again welcome my guest to this program, friend and resident of St. Albans, Don Tessier. Welcome back.
Well, thank you for having me.
It's great to have you always. You always have a wealth of information. You do your homework, and I appreciate that. So, question, Don. What concerns you most? I mean, there are many things going on in our state and in our country, but let's start with our state. What concerns you the most in what's going on in our state these days?
Well, one of the biggest ones, and I hope everybody out there listening will call in and voice what their feeling is.
I'd like that too.
Me too. There's a lot going on. The biggest one here is what they call the Essex Plan. And I got an email from a lady, and I think you did too, saying these bad ideas are hard to go away. It's basically a carbon tax, and they think that we're stupid enough to believe that they're going to charge us 50 cents a gallon more, fuel oil, propane, natural gas, and all that, and they're going to give it back to us in cost of electricity. And I can't figure it out why they're worried about that, because most of our electricity is hydro here in the state of Vermont, and it comes from Canada. Mm-hmm. So they're going to go up into Canada, and they're going to tell them to lower the cost of electricity so they can lower their stuff here. The only way they're going to be doing that is they're going to take all that money away and give it back to us piecemeal. But I've always found that the government, when they take something, if they take $1, it's going to be hard for you to get $1.25, mm-hmm, all right? Mm-hmm. They're going to probably give you 50 cents back. It's a Trojan horse walking in on us, and if we're stupid enough to do it. Now, I did get an email, and it listed all the people in the House of Representatives in favor of it. There's nobody in Franklin County in favor of the carbon tax. Most of the carbon tax is down in Montpelier and Chittenden County, mm-hmm, and it does list the people's names. And we really need to get on top of that and hold these people accountable. And one thing I was going to talk about, and when you and I think the Republican Party needs to start running ads starting in the fall and start calling out these people who are wanting to raise all these taxes and saying Don Tessier and Linda Kirker are from Chittenden County and they want to take money out of your pocket. It seems like they're dormant down there. They need to be more aggressive. I see that the Democrats get on TV more than the Republicans. So they need to write stories and send them to Channel 3, Channel 5, Channel 22.
Oh, you're talking about the news reporting.
News reporting, and talk about this, because I find that they're really not covering this.
Yeah, and it's, we already are overtaxed for our properties.
Yep.
And the state, as the governor said in his State of the Union, or the State of the State, that we have lost taxpayers, left the state. They've gone to Florida and New Hampshire.
Right.
Thousands of them.
That's right.
And that leaves the bills in the hands of the people who are still here.
Well, the school tax is going up. All right.
No.
Well, that's what they're talking.
Yeah, they said 7%, I think.
thought it was around 9%, maybe 7 there. But anyways, it's more.
They can't, they just cannot do that.
Right. Well, look at Efficiency Vermont, all right? That was supposed to be a deal, and now you and I pay on our electrical bill. I don't mind paying something that you might get back. But that carbon tax, say goodbye to all that money. And they're going to, you want to see exodus of the Vermont? Let them do that. And all the people who are here now who are on pensions and stuff. And that's why the governor wants to do this, because we're one of many states that charge for Social Security and pensions.
Oh, taxes on our Social
right.
Security.
So, they're taxing people out, exactly what people are doing.
Yeah.
And Dave McWilliams read a letter from some people who moved to Nashville, Tennessee, and how they love it down there.
Oh, it's so inexpensive.
That's right. Here's another little, my son flew up over the weekend to take a car back because one of his cars broke down, and I had 3, and he wanted to know if we could work a deal on a Honda. I said, sure. So he came up, and he said, I saved just coming up to get the car. He saved $1,900. And I said, what's that mean? He said, because in Tennessee, if a family member gives a car to another family member, they don't charge him a tax.
Really?
Right. So he's going to go down there, register that car, and pay no tax on it, because it's a family member to family member. Now, why can't the state of Vermont do something like that?
The state of Vermont.
Because if I sold that car to you, a family member, you'd have to pay 7-8% on it.
Yeah. Well, the state.
They've already collected tax on it.
I know, but just like Social Security, we paid taxes on that all the year, on that income we made, all through the working years.
Yeah.
Now they're taxing it here again. That's double taxation. That's why we should be in a state where they don't tax that, Don.
And another thing, was coming, right, is, the income tax is parallel on federal tax is 25, the state tax is 25% of your federal tax. Mm-hmm. Now, with this new tax bill here, my income tax, if I stay in Vermont, federal, will go down. So consequently, the state of Vermont's going to go down. Guess what? They're going to find a way to try to make up that gap where they lost thousands of dollars, because they're going to be getting less money.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, yep. And there are 2 Democrats in the state legislature who are recommending that that the state tax for education, because people don't want the education or the property tax to go up. So they're saying, okay, maybe we won't raise the property tax, but we'll raise the income tax.
Right.
So what are they thinking? I've thought for so long, I've said this many times on the show, but I can't help repeating it. In 1997, there were 106,000 students in our kindergarten through 12th grade. Now we're down to what, 78, 79,000 students?
No,
Okay.
71.
Come on.
Yeah. That's what I read when Phil Scott, 71,000. That's when he was, yeah. Have somebody out there call in and tell us who's right, her, you or me or her. But that's why he wanted to have the statewide teachers health plan, all right, because it would save like what, $84 million?
Something like that.
A lot of money. And he said, and I read somewhere, and I could probably pull it up here. I should have pulled it up because I have a thing about students' proficiency. All right, how bad it is. We're spending thousands of dollars in getting dummies coming out of school, and I think I have something here, I believe, and I'll find it up if we get a phone call. I think it was around 71,000 people, students.
Okay. Well, let's just for the sake of argument.
Let's go 75 then.
Yeah, well, if we say 76, 86, 96, 106. So that's 30,000 plus students that we've lost.
Right.
Okay? So, and yet the staffing has continued to increase.
And
they keep finding reasons.
And that's exactly where I found out that thing is when Phil Scott wanted to make it 5-to-1 rather than 4-to-1. And he said,
no, that's right.
Right,
yeah.
we want to take it from 4-to-1 to 5-to-1. And I think it was going to be like 7,800 people would lose their job. And he pointed out that we only have 71,000 students. Mm-hmm. And it's not going to hurt, to go from 4-to-1 to 5-to-1. That's where I found read about it.
I'll tell you another thing. We have, I think it's the lowest student to teacher ratio, or one of the lowest in the country, and I believe we are 4-to-1. 4-to-1 total worker staff
right.
to students.
Right.
Now we also are one of the few highest per pupil expenditures for education. We don't spend this amount for every student, but when you do an average, it's about at least $19,000 a year per pupil that we're spending. The national average is $10,700, something like that. So we're at almost double the per pupil cost.
What do you think the cost per pupil on special ed is?
High.
How much?
Well, I know that there are some students that we have paid as much as $50,000 a year for because we send a van to the house, a special van that takes a wheelchair or whatever, and we have all kinds of services within the schools. I can't believe all the services that
it's over 22,000. I read. I had it on Vermont Digger, and I was going to bring it up. But why are we sending a special van? Why wouldn't we send one of these buses, all right, to pick them up and do it where the family would be paying for part of that? I don't know. When I went to school down in Virginia, okay, I lived and we had public transportation, and with the school people got a deal. They would give us little tickets. We'd put it in the thing, and it'd take us to where we were going. And this is what gets me. They think that, I went probably at least 5 or 6 miles from where they picked me up to go to a school. Mm-hmm. And and the buses, of course, they knew the time to be there to get the students. So it wasn't like you walked uphill both ways. But public transportation in the big cities, they don't have school buses down in big cities where they have mass transit. You get on the bus and you go.
Well, it was different when I was growing up. There were no school buses. My parents got me to school, and then after school, I often walked home. And that was, I had to walk quite a ways and up a big hill, and then if that was the shortcut. And there was a big cattle farm behind my house. Mm-hmm. So I walked along on his property, along the edge of the property, and then scooted over and into my yard. But it was quite a walk.
Yeah, they have school buses for BFA now. Well, back in the day, when I went to BFA, all right, the people in the city, they walked. The only people that came out was the people like Fairfield and I think Sheldon, and I forget where, maybe Georgia. They had buses come in, but they didn't have school buses taking
Within the community.
Within the community, people walked. But anyways,
well,
we can that horse is dead. There's nothing we do about it. They've got it, and that's the way it's going to be until I die, probably.
Somebody has to do an analysis of the costs and what are the returns on the investment.
But that's a lot of money, over 20 some odd thousand for special ed. Now I'm all for special ed, but I mean, and of course when they start mainstreaming them, it takes away from the students in the class. So if we have these special teachers, then they should have special classes and not try to integrate them into the U.S. history class where they won't comprehend anything.
And they could distract the other students. I just read an article, I think it was a letter to the editor, where a woman spoke about her child being distracted in the classroom. I mean, God bless these children who have, serious disabilities. It's a tough thing. But we have to find a way to not distract, the rest of the class. I agree with you. A special classroom with special educators.
Yeah, I just found this here about the carbon tax.
Okay.
All right, it's going to be 88 cents a gallon for gasoline. $1.02 for every gallon of home heating oil.
How much? $1.02?
$1.02 for heating oil or diesel. 58 cents for propane and natural gas.
Wow.
And guess where all the natural gas comes from? Quebec.
It's crazy.
So
you know what? I sent a letter to the governor. I've sent a couple of them. One was about the marijuana issue, which I'm very discouraged about because I know it's going to lead to more drug abuse. And
it is a gateway drug, and most of the people who say who were on drugs who got off say it was a gateway drug for them.
It's a starter.
It's not like we're doing a scientific study. We got people out there who got off drugs who said marijuana got me onto the big stuff.
Yes.
I mean, you don't have to pay $1 million to study this.
Exactly.
It's already given to you free. Just ask the people who went dry.
Yep.
So.
I know. Where was I going? I got distracted.
Sorry.
It's okay. It happens. I wanted to mention this. By the way, folks, I don't know, is the phone number? Yeah, the phone number is up there.
It's working this week, I think.
Yeah, I'm sure. Do we have a call? No, not yet.
Not yet.
But if you are inclined to call and make a comment or ask a question, please feel free to do so. The number's on the screen.
I wonder what the people out there think about FISA, right, with the DOJ and the FBI, and that...
It's federal information...
I don't know what that FISA means, security something. It's a
Act, maybe?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, and it should be very hard to get, but apparently it happened. And of course, then you asked me, I said, what's the most important thing that we talk about? I said, when the federal government and law enforcement people, who the FBI is, and the DOJ, Department of Justice, all right? And I said to you, Linda, are we living in Russia? Are we living in China? Are we living in North Korea? All right? Are we living in Cuba? This is what they do in those countries.
Spy.
All right, this is very serious to me, all right? These people out there should be held accountable, and some of them should go to jail. So out there must be somebody who must agree or disagree with us on that. I'd like to hear what they really think, because I really feel in my heart that a lot of poo-poo's been going on that, and the Democrats are saying, oh, it's not such a big deal, but it wasn't them. If it had been Hillary Clinton, okay, we doing it to Hillary Clinton, and stuff like that, the Republicans, it would have been a big deal.
Sure.
Now they're coming out, the Republicans are going to, they brought out that memorandum, all right? Now the Democrats are going to give the rebuttal. And I can't understand what the rebuttal is. It happened. It can't change. That guy who they just fired, McCabe, down in Virginia, his wife got $500,000, okay, from the Democratic Party to run for senator in Virginia, all right? Tell me there's a collusion right there,
Yep.
all right?
Yep.
There's these guys, all right, and those two people, Texan, 50,000 Texas, they're supposed to be working for the people of the United States.
Exactly.
And they're trying to...
With integrity.
Right, and they're trying to make sure Donald Trump didn't become president. And
Well,
they should be going to hard time. Can you imagine if that happened in Russia? Can you imagine if that happened in Cuba? All right, and especially North Korea? That's right, they'd be dead. It's just, I mean...
Well, we don't want to do that, but it is quite possible that certain people under a different administration were planted in some of these agencies to do the dirty work. That's what I believe.
Well, Loretta Lynch and Bill Clinton had a meeting at the tarmac out in Arizona to talk about grandchildren.
Yeah.
You don't believe that?
That's so funny.
Well, they did.
Yeah, right.
That's what they said
Yeah.
they did. They went and wanted to compare grandchildren.
Of course they did. Yeah. Yeah, right on the tarmac, all of a sudden. Well, there's a lot happening in our federal government and our state government, and all I can say, folks, is that, and I probably said this 100 times on this program, this country was founded for the American people, the public, not to empower a big government that does everything for you and therefore controls everything you can or cannot do as a person. A huge government is a huge problem, and government needs to stick to its defined constitutional roles. There are 18 specific jobs of the federal government, period. But they keep expanding and expanding their role outside of the Constitution. And we, the people, need to speak out and let it be known that this is not okay. And we don't want you, we want our people to be well educated. We already have an education problem, not just the cost, but the quality of the education. And I truly believe that the teachers do not like all of this technology in the classroom that supplants the teacher actually teaching, like when we were in school, having interactions and conversations with, question and answer, instead of having, how boring to give the kids an assignment and have them work on that all day in the classroom at different assignments, instead of interaction in the classroom. That would bore me to death.
Right.
So we need to get rid of Common Core education, where the government controls it, and people like Bill Gates, who was part of the group, a man who's involved with the internet and
right.
and so forth. They're making money hand over fist, these people.
Right.
And he was influential in setting up the Common Core scenario. And unfortunately, our state was one of the ones that, oh, yes, we'll take the few million, and yes, we'll comply with Common Core. We don't know what's in it yet, but we want the money,
That's
so we'll pay the price, so to speak, and that's what we're doing now.
Now these children, they can't multiply, they can't do anything. Here's a story my son was telling me over the weekend when he was up here. His daughter's in the 5th grade, and he was showing him how to do it. He actually, of course, down there, they're very friendly. He knows the teacher. He actually emailed her and says, I don't, tell me how to do it. And my son's not a stupid guy. So he figured it out, because Sarah kept saying, well, Dad, I can't do it. I got to show him how I got it. But he said, So he had to call the teacher up to find out, right? And he's got a master's degree.
Well, isn't it? And maybe I'm wrong. Wouldn't be the first time, but we had to memorize our times tables, okay? So that when you were figuring out a problem,
8 times 8.
64.
There you go.
Yeah, and it, it's in there forever.
Yep.
And that's the trouble with the computers. You rely on them to do your work, and that was one of the things I was going to actually talk about. Let me see here if I can find that. Oh, it was in one of these things. Anyway, all about how the children's brains are being adversely affected. And now they have some kind of new light, blue light or something that they're using on the computer screens, very detrimental.
To the eyes.
Very detrimental to the brain.
Oh, the brain.
Yes. And they're saying that the use of a computer on such a regular basis they're calling it an addiction.
Well, that's true, because as you see, if you get most people, if you go on a trip or go on an airplane or go anywhere, everybody's doing this. I almost got run over the other day. I walking on the street. This kid I almost wanted to run into him to wake him up. He's doing this. If I hadn't moved, he'd run me over.
He was walking?
He's walking, yeah. He's going like this, and he would have run me over.
Yeah, it's, interpersonal communication is so important to relationships.
Yeah.
You can see a person's reaction, facial or body language. And that's really important to getting the full picture of what the other person is feeling or saying.
Well, back in the day, you'd walk down the street in the morning, you'd say good morning, and boom, 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 good morning, good evening. You even though you didn't know them, you would talk and say good morning and stuff like that. Like you said, now they don't have any of that.
Neighbors.
And even when people come to your house, certain people, and I play golf and I had a guy, and he was there, and I said, either put that away or I don't want to play golf with you. I come out here, I don't want that happening here.
Yeah, let's relate with one another and talk about the game.
Right, I mean,
exactly.
They're doing this, playing golf.
On another note, Don,
okay.
How are we doing here?
We're
doing
good.
Great. Darn it, I gave it away. 32 states have made English their official language of the state. I think Vermont needs to do that. And I think that in those states, and I don't know what they do or don't do, but if English is their official language, they should not have to bear the increased expense of printing all important documents in several different languages,
right.
Just like the federal government does. If you come here, learn our language.
Assimilate into the country.
Assimilate. Follow our laws. Be a contributing citizen. Go out and work and pay your taxes. Don't come here to take advantage of the people who are the hard workers, already.
Well, that boils down to there's a few states, they're right now Medicaid to work. If you're on Medicaid, you have to go to work. As I said to you before we went on the air, I was coming down on this board out front here. They have a tech school in the back of BFA.
Yes.
All right. And it says Power Educator. So you can go to that tech school and get a vocation, go out and get a job, make yourself a valuable person. Mm-hmm. If we allow them to stay on Medicaid, like certain people have been on for years and years, there should be a time limit to that they could, within 5 years, you should be off Medicaid completely. All right, unless you're disabled or something like that. But if you're able-bodied, this is what some of the states are doing, mm-hmm. is that Medicaid to work, and you're going to have to work. And there's plenty of work that can be done in the town of St. Albans, city of St. Albans, town of Georgia, Fairfield, that they could use to get there. We'll pay your money, but mm-hmm. you're going to get off welfare. Mm-hmm. All right. So I mean, as long as we keep breastfeeding them is what I like to say. You know, you're never going to get them in a cup of milk.
That's true. And my understanding is, and again, out there, if you know differently, I believe that it's approximately 1/2 of American citizens don't pay, I mean adults, don't pay
Income tax?
income taxes.
I believe that.
Yep. Yep. And Vermont, what is it? The latest figures were Vermont had 30% on Medicaid.
At one time, I knew the number, maybe if I'm wrong, somebody, but I thought it was about 90,000 people are on Medicaid, and we have 626,000 people. So 90,000 are on some kind of substance, all right, where they get money from the state, one way or the other.
Yeah.
That's a big number, but I'll check that out. But for some reason, that sticks in my mind, 90,000.
There were 65,000, and it went up to 205,000 under this new insurance thing, the Obama, you know, the federal law, and where the state of Vermont thought it was going to be so smart.
And we spent $84 million.
Yeah, yeah, and it all went down the drain. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is the same thing that's going to happen with this carbon tax. All right, they're going to take all our money and charge us money to get it back. So it's a Trojan horse.
Have you noticed how many businesses have closed?
In certain parts of the country, they're prospering, all right?
Yeah, but those parts of the country don't take everything from you if you're a business. They make it possible for you to be prosperous.
And also, they don't tax the hang out of you.
Exactly.
And they don't get you with all these permit deals, all right? Thousands and thousands of dollars.
And regulations,
right.
that put so many out of business.
Yeah.
I notice, I don't know if I just missed it, but is the Bon-Ton still up in the shopping center, or did that go?
That's gone. Target's coming in.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Target.
Target?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Target.
But I looked for Bon-Ton, and I said, geez, am I missing something here?
No, they left.
Okay, wow.
But you know that old Kmart store over on Shelburne Road has been vacant for at least 10, 15 years. And that's quite a bit of square footage, you know, just when you get off 189 there on the right-hand side.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, there's a reason why nobody's going in there.
Well, there's a reason why businesses don't come.
Right.
Because
when it costs so much money to, you know, just get set up and all their permits, it takes days, years. Dave McWilliams will tell you what he went through to build a new studio for this TV station, or in the state of Vermont, what he had to go through and what it cost him. The fees were astronomical.
And the regulations.
And the regulation. And that was all, that used to be just farmland, okay? Nothing wrong with farmland. So why did they need all these permits? What's going to go out there?
Money.
Right, what's going to go out there? Nothing, all right?
Yeah.
I mean, it just doesn't make sense. I mean, it'd be a little bit different if it wasn't just bare land, right? But it's just bare lands. So what do we have to do? A pump test, all this tests here, and all this different stuff. All right, we're going to put a mound up. We're going to get an engineer. We can do all that little stuff. But to wait for the state of Vermont to come down and look at something they probably don't even know about. What's, oh yeah, that looks good to me, and move on. It's just crazy. We're just promoting. I mean, when you get more people working for you, all right, I'd like to know the number of state employees we have. We have 626,000
people in the state.
Right, state employees.
No. We have residents.
Not talking people who work for the state of Vermont.
Yeah, but not 626,000.
No,
that's
626 population, right.
Yeah.
But I'd like to know out of that 626, how many people work for the federal, Vermont.
Well, it's the biggest employer in the state, I believe.
Yeah.
It used to be IBM, but when I lived down
there... Yeah, but IBM used to only have 10,000 or 15,000.
I think it was 8.
Yeah, but the state of Vermont's got more than 8,000 employees.
Yeah. Well, maybe it was, okay. So
So why don't we, right, here's what you got in healthcare, okay? I was watching television. In the UK, there's a big protest. Did you happen to see that?
No.
On TV? Yeah. People are protesting the healthcare.
Socialized medicine?
Socialized medicine, single payer, that Bernie Sanders is promoting.
Supports, yeah.
Guess what these people are saying?
What?
Wait time. You can't see a doctor. If they go to try to get there, the wait time is unbelievable. It's almost like what happened with the VA until somebody got on top of these guys. The wait time was 30, 40, 50 days for our veterans.
Oh,
and
more
some
than
of
that
them,
even.
yeah, and some of them died before they went in there. So when Bernie Sanders is talking about Canada, okay, what about the UK? Now here's a story I'll tell you about. Over the holidays, I was talking to a friend of mine who was up deer hunting. He was a U.S. citizen, but he used to be a Canadian, and he was deer hunting in a camp just across the border. And one of his friends, they fell, and he hurt himself. So they took him to Cowansville, and they put him on a gurney, and he waited there for 5 or 6 hours. And the guy who went up to this guy who brought him in there said he should have said he had pains in his chest because he had broken ribs. All right, so he sat there for I forget how many hours on a gurney.
Yeah.
All right, and that's socialized medicine. And I know some other people up there who talked about it. It's not as good as Bernie Sanders thinks it is.
Well, he's a socialist.
I know he's a socialist. All right.
And that means government takes over your life.
So if you want single payer, why don't you go to the UK or Canada and leave the Vermont people alone? That's my theory.
Yeah, it's not good, but I see changes occurring now. I mean, I waited 3.5 months to see one doctor.
Really?
Oh yeah, yeah. I couldn't.
Can you imagine if that was single payer?
Yeah, it would have been probably 6 months.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, doctors are leaving the state.
Yes, they are because of the cost.
Yep. They can't afford to keep up a private practice.
Right.
So they're either retiring, moving out of state, or going to work for the hospital.
Yeah. There's a few doctors that I know of. And one of them was mine. He moved down to North Carolina. All right. And like you said, some of them are moving to other states to practice.
Yep. One of mine went to Albany. A surgeon went out west, and another one decided to give up practicing, and he's teaching medical students.
Well, that's okay. Well.
So bye-bye.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's not good.
I got a question for somebody out there. I hope they call in and answer. This is a question for you. The federal tax policy that went in a while back, okay, and not one of our congressional persons voted for it, Leahy, Walsh, or Bernie Sanders, where they lowered the income tax and the pay. All right, has anybody got a check from their employer with more money in it this week or last week because of that new federal tax that went in? Of course, I got my Social Security, and of course, we both got 2%, but that's about all.
I got a Social Security raise of $3 a month.
Yeah.
I could buy a coffee.
Right.
Yep.
Go to McDonald's and get 3 coffees.
Yeah. The federal government for 30 years has been taking money out of the Social Security Fund.
Yep.
Now it has a bunch of IOUs, and they've taken a couple of billion out of it for their own projects. You know, bring the money back to your state. You look important, and all you're doing is bringing back our tax dollars. But you're like a hero, you know, if you bring money back to your state or your community for some project. You know, keep in mind, folks, that's our money.
That's right.
You know, and they need to solidify the Social Security Trust Fund. That money should not be taxable. We paid in, like I said earlier.
Not only did we pay in, our employer paid in.
That's right. That is right.
Right?
Yep.
He matched what we did.
That is
so
right.
So it's called double dipping, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think it was 7 or 7.5% each.
Right, whatever.
Yep. So.
And then they call it an entitlement. This really gets
Oh, me too. It is earned.
right.
Social Security is earned by those workers who paid into it along with their employers.
And it's get on immigration, and that I don't know if this is true or not, but I've heard that certain people who come here illegally can get on Social Security benefits by being disabled.
Well,
Now that is really, really bad. All right, if you haven't paid into it, all right, you should not be part of it. We have other mechanisms to take care of that situation.
oh, we have a caller.
Uh-oh.
Was it something you said or I said?
Probably
welcome, welcome to the program.
Good
caller.
evening.
Hi.
How you doing?
Good. How about you?
Well, I'm not watching your show because actually I had to go to a church meeting. I had to say a prayer for you Republicans on this show.
Oh, we appreciate that. Thank you.
I didn't know you knew how to pray.
Oh, stop. We can take.
Hey, I hope Donald Trump takes the credit for the stock market hitting a 1,700-point loss.
Oh, but it's climbing right back up. It was a one-day blip.
Yeah, I know it is. So that's good. You know, he's done some good stuff. I'm not going to say he hasn't.
Happy to hear.
I just hope that he would work with the rest of the Democrats and Republicans to get their act together to straighten out this economy and get a lot more people back to work.
Well, how about getting a border secured with a wall, first of all?
I'm totally against that. You know,
You are?
We have enough armed forces people that we could put them down on that border instead of putting them all over Europe and everywhere else to combat the problem. That'd be cheaper than a $4 billion wall at some price like that.
Well, we have quite a few Border Patrol people, and I agree with you on one aspect of it, but our military has gone down. We need to beef up our military because the last 8 years it's gone down. We got outdated fighters, we got outdated boats, we're jury-rigging a lot of different stuff.
The cameras over there.
I agree with you. Our armed forces, our men and women should deserve the best equipment there is.
Right.
I agree.
Not stuff is breaking down.
I agree with that. However, our previous president, Barack Obama, downsized our military and all of the equipment. We now have 1,000 planes that can't fly because they don't have parts. And we have Border Patrol agents who are saying they don't want the job anymore because they don't get the support they need from our government. I can't believe, I mean, we are an independent, sovereign nation. We should have a boundary, a wall. And let people come in here legally. Not bearing guns, not bearing arms, not bringing people in here. What do you call it with the girls? What is it they call it when they're bringing young girls in?
Yeah, to come in.
Don Tessier knows this. Our pastor just came back from Guatemala.
Uh-huh.
And you ought to heard the
stories
that he had to talk about, at our church service, and it was quite something what he had to go through, and he was a nervous wreck. I
can imagine. I mean, our police force here in St. Albans, God bless them, just arrested a man, a drug dealer who called himself T. Had all kinds of, they broke into his apartment. He had all kinds of drugs there. And he was from Central America. I don't know which country, but
until we fixed our court system, we're just throwing money out the window.
I agree. I agree.
There's so much leniency against these drug dealers. If they're from Africa or whatever country and they get caught with a felony, we give them a parachute and we let them off back at their country where they live and tell them if you come back here, we'll have a permanent jail cell for them. Yeah,
right. I agree that the legal system is way too lenient, not just on foreigners, but on people. It is knowing that there are going to be consequences for your actions sometimes deters people from doing the wrong thing. But if they know they can get away with it, they're going to take advantage.
Well, you know, Linda, I agree with you, but we make it very comfortable for these people who go to these jails. They have air conditioning, they have TV. It's like a country club, and all they do is serve time, and then when they get out, they go back again.
Depending on what country they come from, we've had some down at the correctional center. We had to have specialized meals for them.
No kidding.
Yeah. Well, I got to let you go, but I wanted to call in. I knew I wasn't going to make it home in time, so I just wanted to call in and say my 2 cents worth.
Well, we're happy for your 2 cents.
Right.
Thank you.
Have a nice night.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Good night.
Bye.
Yeah.
No, he's right. I mean, it's a punishment. All right, it's supposed to be a punishment. All right. Now I got a note here I wrote about rehabbing people. Okay, I'm all in favor of rehabbing people who make mistakes. Second chance, I buy into. All right, but when they keep coming back, then we got to make it uncomfortable. I remember growing up, they used to call a thing called Devil's Island, and they just put people out there and say, "Take care of yourself," and it was bad, bad, bad. All right, They make it. I mean, when it's comfortable, they had air conditioning, everything else. I don't want anybody to get abused, but second chance, all right. After the third chance, you're going to be responsible for your actions, and it's going to be tough. I grew up in the South, and I saw a lot of chain gangs. All right, and they had them on alongside the road working, and they had a guy standing on a flatbed with a shotgun. And a good friend of mine, his brother got shot trying to run away. All right, down in Virginia, and when I first got married, we went down to my family down there, and my wife, we were going down through US 13 with a lot of farms down there, and she saw that. She said, "What is this?" I said, "That's chain gang." Huh? Nobody up in the northern part of the world knows what a chain gang is. All right, a chain gang, you get up, and then in the city of Norfolk had a big farm, similar to what we have down there. And they had to grow their own food.
Well, I'm all in favor of that. I think you need to earn your keep.
Right.
The public shouldn't have to pay for all. You commit a crime, you do some sort of harm, and then the people, the taxpayers, are supposed to make your life comfortable. They should have jobs. We educate them, we refresh them, we renew them, whatever. And then, I'm sure some of them appreciate it, but others don't. They'll just go out and, commit another crime. There have to be consequences.
Right.
It's just like when you're a child. If you do the wrong thing, your parents punish you.
Right.
In a healthy way.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I don't mean like,
No, they didn't beat them.
No. But let me see. What do you think about the proposal to build a 925-bed... Whoops, we have another caller. Caller, welcome to the show. Hello?
Linda, I can't hear you.
Oh.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Don. I can't hear Linda.
Okay.
Oh.
Well, go ahead, and what's your question?
Well, I got a couple of questions.
Okay.
I have a statement, and then I have to ask you a question.
Go for it.
The statement is, I was thinking today how nice it would be if Welch and Leahy and Sanders made as much effort solving problems for the nation and representing the people that sent them there as they do criticizing the president. We'd have quite a delegation.
Oh, yes. You're right.
All they do is blab about what the other guy's not doing or doing, and they're not doing anything in the meantime.
That's an interesting perspective.
Question I had is, the legislature apparently is considering school taxes being paid with the income tax. What's your opinion of that? As much as you know about it today, of course.
Bah humbug.
Right. Boo, boo.
Listen, there's no way on earth that it is okay for our Vermont property taxes or income taxes to go up. Our state needs to get a sharp pencil and start cutting costs. We have a program for everything. We cannot afford it. So it is time. I sent 2 letters to the governor in the last month or so. One was about marijuana, which I was dead set against legalizing. And the other, I included 4 different big paragraphs about things that need to be addressed in this state. And one of them was that the 2 biggest departments, the Agency of Human Services and the Department of Education, need to be audited. And then that report needs to be used to figure out a way to be much more cost efficient and to lower the burden on we taxpayers who are still here, who haven't left the state for greener pastures. That's my take on it. Are you still there?
Still there. Still here, I should say. I don't know what to think about it. I guess I agree with you folks. I wondered how you felt about it. And the first 47,000 is part of the proposal to be exempt.
Right, but that's then what they do is they give you that, and then they start raising it down, pushing it back down to 20,000. Right, bang, bang, bang.
Wait a minute. Explain about the 47,000
Is exempt.
Right, is exempt
from income tax.
Well, it would be exempt for that school tax. But now,
in other words, if you make less than 47,000 under that proposal, you never would be taxed.
But then what they do is next year it's 35,000, next year it's 30,000. Once they get you on the program, they start lowering that number.
So that's for paying school taxes?
Yeah.
First 47,000 of income would be exempt right. under that formula.
Right. And then what they do, Jimmy, as you well know, they bait you and then switch it. And then they say the next year we're going to tax. All right, it'd be 35,000. Anything over anything over 35,000 up to 47,000
is taxable.
Is taxable. That's what they do. They bait you this way, and then they say, "Oh, we'll just lower that down to 35." So now you're used to paying it, and they say now you've got to pay from 35,000. That starts at, you've got to pay up to 45,000, 50,000.
Is that gross income?
Don't know,
Linda.
Know.
I don't know.
I'm not sure. Probably.
I don't like them playing around. The thing they need to do is cut down the burden. There's plenty of room for cutting down the tax burden.
What gets me about this is I listened to the other night on television, a supervisory union guy saying, well, we only increased the budget by 7-8%.
Oh, is that all?
That's all. But I said to myself, so you can increase it by 8%?
Now to clean those supervisory units out.
Right. Why can't you decrease it by 8%? See, that's my question. Why can't you do 8%? If you can raise it by 8%, you can take 8% off. There's nothing. You can cut costs if you really want to cut costs. And that's what they do. They smoke you up, and then they
top heavy.
There you go, top heavy.
So
top heavy. And those supervisory units are loaded with all kinds of experts, and all they do is go to the school boards in the district and make presentations and do this, and we're following that, and do this. And the school board members sit there; they don't have a clue what they're talking about.
I know it. We talked about it when you were on the show the other day. Okay, when you were on the show the other day about the supervisory union, how much the chairman makes, then the assistant person, the business manager, all these different people there. You're talking like $400,000 just in the staff.
Well, I'm wondering if the defined role of the superintendent of schools, if that is the same, I assume it's the same all around the state.
It is.
They all have the same job description.
Yep. And I can show you the cost of each one of those districts in Franklin County.
Why do we need so many supervisory unions or superintendents if the job is the same for all of them. Like New York City, they have millions of students, and they have one superintendent of schools.
Same thing in Nashville, Tennessee.
Is it?
Yeah, they have one super. And then,
That's right.
Then I'm saying,
That's right.
what are the principals
really
doing?
Aggravates me locally. I watch some of the several a week of the recorded school board meetings. And the superintendents seem to be running the meetings, not the board chairman.
Yeah.
But what's going on there? Do you know?
No.
Why is the superintendent allowed to run the school board meetings? It's supposed to be run by the chairman.
That's right. That's right.
And you look at these schools in Franklin County, and you'll see the superintendent running the meetings. Next on the agenda, and the chairperson sits there looking dumb.
Right.
I can't believe it. Well, I know you're running short of time, but
that's okay. Well, that's the old saying.
I'm not confident we have people up here that will do what we're looking for.
Well, because of the union. The union fought the governor by just wanting to go from 4 to 5. Said we're going to lose like 2,700 people, and the union fought them. I forget what it was, but we're saving. I forget how many millions of dollars by just getting rid of those people. But anytime you try to take money to get people out of education, the union comes in and says you're not for education.
Hello.
Yeah. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for calling in.
Have a nice evening.
Good night. All right, we're down to the last 3 or 4 minutes. We talked about the carbon tax, education spending. You know what Bernie Sanders says?
No.
I just read this in a publication. Christians are unfit to hold any high position in government.
Really?
Really.
And the state of Vermont's going to re-elect him as senator?
Well, he's not up for wait.
Yes, he is.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Peter Welch and him are up for re-election.
Yeah.
Who are they going? I wonder who's going to run against him.
Boy, I'm hoping. I talked to somebody the other day to try to encourage him to run. I think he'd be really good, but I'm not sure he's going to do it. He's trying to figure out what.
We should get that to every minister in Vermont to get in the pulpit and talk.
Yeah, I have that somewhere here, or maybe I didn't bring it, but it's in print. Anyway, let's see what else. We need to support our local law enforcement.
Big time.
Big time. And if you don't have a sticker that says I support my local police, you need to get one. I have an extra one if anybody wants it. Same-day voter registration. There's no way to verify that people are legitimate voters.
That's correct.
They need to register at least 2 weeks ahead of time, but the legislature passed that law against the better judgment of the town clerks, who can't verify the legitimacy of the person. So how do we know I want voter ID.
Right. Well, that's why I believe that the town clerk should tell the legislature, mind your business.
They've tried.
Mind your business. What are they going to do? If I'm the town clerk and I don't do it, they going to put me in jail?
I don't know.
I'd say put me in jail.
I don't know.
I mean, it's crazy. We got people making decisions that don't know what the hang they're doing. I mean, some of those people down in the legislature, when you read this carbon tax, the number there, they must think that we're stupid.
We don't speak up.
Well, I know.
Don. The people need to speak up and stand up. Write letters to the editor. If you're concerned about property taxes or whatever the issue might be, write a letter to the editor expressing yourself, because it's up to us. They're supposed to be down there representing us in Washington and here, and we're down to 40 seconds now.
Okay.
So you have one quick last comment?
No, I don't. Just you got to start watching what's going on and get involved and do things, or else you're going to get run over.
And go to church.
Yeah, go to church.
Bring your children to church and your grandchildren.
But no, I'm serious. You've got to get involved. You've got to hold these people accountable. I actually call Peter Welch's office. I call Bernie Sanders' office. I call Pat Leahy's office.
Yeah, but it's...
But if you just say, yeah, but, you gotta keep
I've
going.
done it. I've gotten all the form letters.
I know, but at least, you know, you gotta, it makes me feel better. At least I'm telling them how I
You're
feel.
trying to do something.
Yeah.
Okay, Don, thank you so much for coming back on the show.
Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. Folks, thank you so much for tuning in. Stand up and speak out in our country and in our state. Okay, good night. I'll see you again next week. Take care.